Uri would discover Michael's childlike qualities as their friendship grew stronger. A second visit to Uri in Britain was already being planned to include a midnight shopping trip to Harrods and a private tour of Parliament.
He sat down and I said to him, hey, Michael, you can't sit here. Only elected people can sit in the House of Commons. He looked very bemused.
After Michael Jackson's appearance as best man at Uri's wedding in 2001, the friendship between the pair went from strength to strength. They would often talk on the phone. On more than one occasion, they discussed a proposal put forward by an American space enthusiast.
I got an email from a scientist, an engineer that worked in Boeing with ties to NASA. And I don't know, the conversation started between me and him that it is, no matter how far out this sounds and how science fiction it sounds, that it was possible to get Michael Jackson to the moon. And I relayed this to Michael. And Michael was extremely ecstatic about it. He was so excited just by, I mean, the idea of him being able to actually do his moonwalk on the moon. And I remember, I mean, it was really, to me, it was an impossibility, but the flicker, the hope that it could happen was there because these emails were coming from a scientist. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Michael Jackson left me a message on my answer phone.
Uri Geller, it's Michael Jackson calling. When you get this message, please know that I pray that we do the moon trip. So I want to be the first one to do it in the pop world. And now I hear that NSYNC and all these people are trying to go. I want to be first, please. And let's do Hands Across England. And let's think of some other wonderful things. I love you. Goodbye.
This was so sweet, you know. It was so timid. It was so naive. It was so gullible. It was so beautiful and gentle that I had to keep, I didn't want to erase the message. I mean, I listened to it over and over and over again. You see, Michael Jackson believed in the impossible.
Just months later, the superstar was back in Britain to visit Uri. With Michael's permission, every step of the visit was recorded by his friend.
Michael! Thank you, Michael! I love you!
You see, these scenes, these moments, conjures up religion. It conjures up God. This is kind of on a different plane. This is like these people, these fans, looked at Michael almost like a Jesus.
You are amazing. Illusionist David Blaine, a friend of Uri's, joined Michael on the visit. Their first stop, a tour of Parliament as a guest of another friend of Uri's, Lord Greville Janner.
Michael really loved that sculpture, but come on, that's been there probably for hundreds of years. He couldn't take that home. My feelings here, going into the Parliament with Michael Jackson, was simply bizarre. That's the only word I can say. Really freaky, the whole thing, but it was meaningful. It was important. It was power. It was kind of credibility. You see, Michael wanted he wanted the Queen to honor him. He really did want that, very much. That was one thing that really was in Michael's heart.
Why did you want to come and visit Parliament?
Is it my wonderful friend, Lord Janner? No, that's a good answer. Yeah. He's a politician as well. And to educate me about this whole incredible thing.
You know, when Michael heard that Steven Spielberg got a knighthood, Michael wanted a knighthood too. And I understand, come on, he should have gotten a knighthood, really. But it was impossible to achieve. And we spoke about that quite a lot. In the Parliament, there were moments where, without filming, he kind of whispered to me, "Is the Queen here? Are we going to meet the Queen?"
Michael Jackson had a magical status wherever he went, even in Parliament. Now, he came on a Friday, and there were no parliamentarians there. And the staff and everybody who met him treated him with much more joy and respect and amazement than they ever do any of the members of either House of Parliament. He was a rare and wonderful visitor. So I took Michael through the House of Commons, and he sat down. And I said to him, hey, Michael, you can't sit here. Only elected people can sit in the House of Commons. He looked very bemused, because it must be the only place in the world he's ever been told he couldn't sit down.
Later in the day, Uri and Michael made their way to Paddington Station. Michael had agreed to speak at a fundraising event in Exeter, where Uri was co-chairman of the local football team.
At Paddington, we were mobbed. This was horrifying, it was scary, it was panicky. It was chaos, pandemonium, there was suffocation, there's no air. It was just unreal.
You're crushing him! You're crushing him! Honor Michael!
During this chaos, I really feared for his life. I honestly did. Nobody could contain the pressure of the bodies. Somehow Michael fell onto the pavement of Paddington. And he lay there like this for a few seconds, and you can imagine, I could not think. He's on the floor here, right here. Look, it takes seconds. We try to get some air around him, and then I've never seen anything like it. It was like from the movie The Matrix. He sprang up, or he catapulted off the floor like some type of a cheetah, a tiger, and he just zoomed as fast as the speed of light to the train. We couldn't catch up with him. It was impossible.